Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Zoom conversation with Melanie Mccauley and Miranda Rapazzo of Sacajawea Nonprofit Housing. Melanie is the executive director and Miranda is the executive assistant at Sacajawea. And I'm Bill Johnston, co-chair of our affordable housing team. We begin by acknowledging that the city of Hamilton, in which our church is located, is situated on the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase, 1792, between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we recognize and acknowledge that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. We seek a new relationship guided by the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, and all the other reminders we have had about what the treaties governing this land mean about walking together in peace and mutual respect. All of you who are watching are muted, but you are welcome to ask questions. Please write them in the chat and I will watch for them. And please don't use the chat for anything else, so I'm not lost in conversation on the side. It was just over 5 years ago that members of our congregation first met with Melanie Mccauley to see if there might be ways that we could support Sacajawea in its work of providing housing and support to Indigenous people in Hamilton. So it seems a kind of good time to take some stock of what Sacajawea has been doing and is continuing to do in the midst of a crisis of both homelessness, evictions, and unaffordable housing in Hamilton. So I am delighted that you are both here, Melanie and Miranda. Welcome. And why don't we start with each of you introducing yourselves and telling us a bit about you, including how long you've been with Sacajawea and why you do this work. And I think you both need to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Melanie Mccauley. I'm the executive director years in March coming up, the 16th to be exact, 1993 that I started as a placement. I was just a placement there. And I was doing tenant liaison work for the people that hired me. And then things happened in the office and the coordinator left. So we were looking for another ED. So we put it out there. And then one of my peers from another organization said, why don't you go for it? I said, okay, I'll sink or swim. So almost 29 years later, I'm still swimming. It's been a great place. You know, when I first started, there was nothing, there was no job descriptions, there was no policies, there was nothing. You know, so it's been a ground, but the community has helped Sacajawea and a lot of organization. Yeah, we only got 3 people working in the office, and we were able, with your generous donation, to get 18 West Avenue, and with the community room, you know, so which has helped our our case manager that does a lot of stuff there too with the tenants. She has 8. But she doesn't do it for the 8. She does it for all the tenants, helps them with everything, referrals and stuff that they ask for. She gets all this information. So it's a well-rounded office. I'm very happy with my team, and I feel very confident after this year that the next candidate will be up. And that gives you the cue to jump in now, Miranda.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Miranda Rapazzo. I'm the executive assistant at Sacajawea. I started in February of 2019. I just had a baby girl a year before. So I applied for a job, and I was lucky enough to be granted a position at Sacajawea. And yeah, I'm from Six Nations. I'm Mohawk Turtle Clan, and yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. My dad's from Six Nation. My mother's from New Credit. Was from New Credit. Yeah. And also, Miranda was one of our summer students going back years ago, right? So, and I know when I came up and I seen the candidate, I went, I know her, right? So it worked out. And what made a difference with her interview is she said, "This is a career." And that's the thing that stuck with me, So I said, okay, this is the one. And she's been working out wonderfully. 3 years. Can't believe it that long. But we had such a turmoil with that COVID. People trying to move in. They couldn't move in. It was just horrendous. But we got through it. We look at that stuff. For being such a small organization, we really pulled everything together and we all worked as a team. Which was, no, that's not my job. No, we all came together to help.
So why don't I leap to that? And just before the pandemic, you finished construction on 18 West Avenue South, and then almost, you first got a building with a lot of tenants, 23 or more, I guess. And then suddenly you got COVID. I mean, what has COVID done for your, how has it affected your handling of your tenants, particularly in your large building? It's been good because we have a maintenance worker that works 3 days a week that help with our maintenance just on contract. And Lisa's our case manager. And her phone's constantly ringing with different things, right? And she deals with it. She just doesn't leave a message. She goes right through. So we look after them personally. Like we don't say, okay, this Wednesday we're going to do this, or Tuesday. It's whatever their needs are. And we try to fill that. Even Lisa's taking them shopping, because it's been, they had the funds net, but they won't take the gift cards over the phone. So we have to go in person to do that. So that's been a little hip card too. Mm-hmm. And what do you think, Miranda? How do you think?
Yeah, no, I think COVID, the main thing that COVID has done is, so we do have this beautiful community room. However, because of COVID, we haven't been able to utilize it as much as we would like to, because we haven't been able to come together as a community. It's been more on Zoom. A lot of the programming has been on Zoom. So that would have been one of the downfalls too. But again, all the tenants, they live in the building, so they see each other. They do, the protocols as far as wearing the mask and trying to stay 6 feet apart. But they'll go outside and talk amongst themselves outside, and they have a little area set up with their chairs and stuff. So yeah, so as far as being able to meet together, that has been an issue, but it hasn't dampened their spirits. Like I said, they'll see each other outside and they'll have conversations and stuff. And then also too, Mel has mentioned that we have given them hygiene packages. We have given them cleaning packages. We've given them gift cards for food, any food supplies that they need. We've given them gift cards, or transportation needs if they have to go to a doctor, or some of the tenants, would like to go home again, because it was Christmas during COVID. They would like to go home for they would like to be able to go home. It was after Christmas, or after the pandemic, things were lifted. They wanted to go home to finally be able to see their families. So we offered them some transportation as far as gift cards for that too, for gas. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So take me back to the beginning. Sacajawea began in late 1987. What was the impetus for creating Sacajawea?
Well, creating Sacajawea came from the Native Women's Center because of the women that are being abused. They had nowhere to go, so they would probably end up going back to their abusers. So they found out at that time they needed another. So we started in 1987. We got 6 units through CMHC, and the next year we got 14 units, and then in 89 we got the last with the 8. So we had 28 units. And we kept them. Oh, And when Harris got in control, we already had, from Jobs Ontario, we had 12 senior building, 12 units for seniors, and additional 12 units for scattered houses. But that was squashed as soon as Harris got into control, because they just took everything away. You know, so yeah, that's what I said. I was driving home from playing darts and I'm going, oh no, I've lost it. I was practically crying all the way down Barton Street. Thinking, don't tell me. But it happened. And then when we look back in 1995, I think, or 93 was the last time they gave any housing. You know, it was up. And then we were in a position in 2014, we had phase one, all the mortgages paid. I don't know how I did that. I had 3 mortgages. So anyways, it's a godsend, because you look at now we got equity. We could do something with this. We put a proposal, we got a consultant, because I said, we cannot, first be in such a small organization, take this all on. We're not architects, we're not builders, we're none of that, right? We just look after our clients. So we were able to do a proposal through Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services, which lent us $660,000. And we seen a property on Main, right at Ray in Maine, and we bought that, and we had the equity from 5 of the houses that we sold. But we made sure there was only one that was getting evicted, but we made sure all the rest of them had a place that they were going to. Some went to Urban Native Homes, another one just started a good job and got little leery, but now she's on her own. And sometimes they could buy homes, right? But they not in this day though. But I mean, getting so nervous about getting out of RGI units, right? But they're doing wonderfully, you know. So we were able to do 6 plex there, 6 1-bedrooms, 6 2-bedrooms, and all for women, right? Because now we're going a little different. And then, so when we looked at another one, and that was 18 West, we went with, we met with Hamilton Community Foundation, because we had some of it money to pay down on, but we didn't have it all. We asked for $325,000, and they were gracious enough to lend us $375,000, which we paid off in a year because it was interest, eh? And me, I don't like paying interest on anything. So that was where that started. And then we were at 18 West, and then we were in the position when we talked to CMHC in our housing that we could sell 5 more to get equity for 18 West, so which we did. And that came out of phase 2, and that left 10. And then in phase 3, we did 1. So out of 28, we got 47 now. But if you look at what Indwell is doing now too, because they're looking after the place. They're building it. They're doing all that stuff because they get the CMHC and with the Indigenous part of the co-investments. So they were able to do that. So we got that. And then we had some funds left over too, that not left over, but that we could put towards that building, 18 West. It was a very, very roller coaster ride, because we changed construction workers because the management was like getting smaller and the price was going up higher. And then I said, we can't let them live in a cell, right? So we took a big loss and we paid out the other construction management, and we hired another one, which worked out well. You know, so there was a lot of burps, and then Bruce McLean from the city just says he was so thankful that I held on, because I said, one more kick and we're not doing it, because we can't get this done with all these roadblocks. But it came through and we did. So thank you all too for that. Very much so. I remember way back getting so nervous to talk to you though, when I kept saying, okay, that was a Christmas Eve, and they had the Sacajawea story, and the young lady was telling, and she's one of our members. And I think that's how Bill talked around with everybody, didn't you, Bill, with the housing and stuff like that? And that's how you found out Beth was on our board. I mean, was a member. She was on our board before, but not now. She's just a member,
Yeah.
but a great member. She is.
Yes, that's right.
You
I was at a committee meeting and for some other reason, and there was this proposal that came up for a heritage designation on a property at 18 West Avenue South. And the recommendation was to reject heritage designation so that you guys could buy the property and build on it. That's so hopefully I should be able to share the screen and show some photos of that project.
Sure.
So let me try.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I can't make this big. There it is.
Yes.
That's the first check that went to Sacajawea from our Christmas offering in 2016. So that's me. That's Corrine Williams, who sadly passed away earlier this year. There's Beth. Luke Johns was the consultant. Melanie, and you would know who the others are.
Yeah. Right. The architect was right next to me.
Okay.
What's his name again, Miranda? Oh, I forget his name. And that's Suzanne. She was from Tim Welsh. And Tim Welsh is right behind you. No.
Okay.
His nose hits him up there. And the other gentleman to the right was Fred Loft. He helped with the committee of starting this. Yes. And Beth was on that committee too. Yeah.
So that's the property when it was first purchased. That's the old manse. So we're behind us in this picture is the parking lot of Canadian Tire there on Main Street and just at Main and Victoria. So that's the manse of the Anglican Church just to the north.
Yes.
And that's the manse disappearing, being demolished in November of 2017. And it looked like everything was going to go. And then nothing happened for a year. It took a year to get a building permit. And then once the building permit, it only took a year to build it. So there's the site ready. There's the underground work being done in February 2019.
Mm-hmm.
More foundation being laid. So you can see that's the Canadian Tire building there over here.
Yeah, in the back there. Yeah.
There's the first story up in April of 2019. The second story up by June. There's some of the insulation on. There's the cladding mostly on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, as it looks today, with its name, Our House and a Place to Come Home to. In which two different languages?
Yes.
Which languages are those?
Yeah, the first one is Mohawk,
Right.
and the second one is Ojibwe.
Okay.
I can't pronounce it, but Dixie can. She kept going over and over. That's our board president.
Okay, I don't know how to.
But we know what the other one is at Royal Oak.
So why don't we go on to the next project? Let's the two projects that you're working on right now. So this one will be finished early next year. There's a model, so it's a little hard to figure your bearings, but this is Victoria Avenue. Barton Street is just over here. This is East Avenue, and this is Robert Street down there. The General Hospital is just to the sort of northwest over here. And this is the only building that was left intact from the Royal Oak property. It's the old stable, and that's where you're going to have 13 units that you co-manage, right?
And our offices and a community room. And a community room that I think people on Barton Street, I think that, what are they called? Help, Miranda, what is that organized? Helping Hands, is it? On Barton Street? Remember when they asked her? Yeah, so they were quite happy about this too, because they asked if they could use it. And sure, it's going to be a community. So yeah. And it's beautiful. There was lights. Graham said a week and a half ago, he goes, "There's lights now, tell your board." I said, so I'll get them down there when it isn't so muddy. Maybe when it's harder, the ground.
So this is early in construction back last April, and that's the stable building and Indwell is this an Indwell project?
Yes.
And this is, that's in May last year. This is again, the stable building. This is a couple of weeks ago in November. So the roof is now on, and this whole building and the taller building to the north are now, they're taking shape. And this is a model of ultimately what it's going to look like. So there's the stable building, which is where you'll have your units in your office. And the rest is, I think, 95 units with Indwell, and then later this part will be built. So what's
other part, the last one will be for Indigenous too.
Awesome.
That's 32 units. That's going to go for Indigenous. 2 bedrooms, maybe 3 bedrooms for families.
And will you be managing that?
Okay.
Or co-managing that?
No, we'll probably, co-managing, because we got a memorandum of understanding with our supports through the Hamilton Regional Indian Center and plus Deswada Desne, the House Center.
Okay. And what's it going to mean to you to have your own office where you can decorate it and design it as you want? You're in rented premises now, right?
That's really nice. And yes. We just had a flood. All our offices will be closed tomorrow because the flood, the water main break all down. All our checks got destroyed. Miranda's desk got a lot of it too. So we're off tomorrow while they fix that. So, but it'll be okay. It'll get it all done. But that's what I said to the gentleman that was working in there. I said, I'll be so happy when in April or May, or the dates though, Miranda, when they say it getting shifted back. But I think it's April. Right, Miranda? Miranda.
You can't unmute?
Yeah, no, you can't if you turned it off, and that's when the young lady turned me back on. The host that came on with you, Bill, at the beginning.
Yeah, Monica, there you go.
There she is.
Thank you. Sorry about that. It's a little difficult for me because my small children, so I try to, if they get rambunctious, that's why I mute myself, but then I can't unmute myself. So I do apologize.
It's okay. It's okay.
So Melanie was asking when you'll be moving into the office.
So that'll be end of March, close to beginning of April. Yeah.
That's good.
Just the timeline for the construction.
Yeah.
Miranda goes to the meetings every week with Indwell. They discuss the programs. And what's that young lady's name again? The one that's looking after our project. Yeah,
Iman. Iman, yeah.
Very good. Yeah. So we're closely working at them every week. They meet and go over different things that they're discussing. And now they were looking at furniture, and I think that's what the next meeting or something's going to be. Yes. So that's all good. Yeah, so we got to look at that. Because the only things that Indwell is doing is fridge and stove, right, Miranda?
Yeah, just the appliances.
Yeah. But that's, because they only got the 2 in the thing, because we also looking for a microwave for them, a little extra stuff. And we were also looking at trying to get a basket of welcoming, for each of the tenants that come in. So that's something we're looking at too. Because I know Indwell has a partner, one of the churches, and they help with that, with their people moving in, their clients and that.
Like I could have stopped share. Okay.
Ooh. Hell, we're moving on.
Okay. Now I'm going to move to your other site, which is
yes.
So that's what it looked like back in May. It's an old tavern that had rooms up above it.
Yes.
And it's I don't know when construction actually began, but that's what it looked like Monday in the rain.
Yep.
So clearly construction is well underway.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a dozen units there?
There's going to be, a dozen there. And there's the second part of it is Indwell's going to do is second stage. So those are going to be first till they get stable in that, right? And then offer them a more permanent place right next to it. So they've already got the renditions, what they're going to do with that.
And when
So
when is Ottawa Street
it's
expected to
starting
begin?
Around the same time as the staple.
I think there's,
Oh, wow.
yeah, because that was the rapid housing one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So the
it's
timeline-
exciting, but go ahead, Miranda.
Yeah, so the timelines for both properties are very close. They're like within weeks apart. So yeah, so the move-in dates are again pretty close. So around the end of March, beginning of February
April.
or April. Sorry.
Well, that's
That's
awesome.
okay, honey. Yeah, so it is because they're meeting too for the selection of the tenants. So
Yeah.
there's the HRC, there's Sacajawea and Indwell. They all meet, they look at the applicants and they go through them. So which is great. And that's Lisa. Lisa does that.
Yeah, the tenant selection. Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
did it happen that you started working with Indwell?
That happened about 4 years ago. We talked because we were on the Housing and Homelessness Committee. I remember I've been on that since 2008, but was on that committee, and that's where I met a lot of the mainstream nonprofits through there. And we got talking, and I even talked with Brian Sibley because they were thinking of us with Caledon, but that was too big for us. So that's why Victoria Homes got in there with Kiwanis. It's
Mhm.
all good because of all the housing that we're getting. And so we just talked, and it was Jeff and Graham that came and talked with our board, what they wanted to see, if we started working together. And what it came down to, I looked at all our clients, and a lot of them needed supports, so that's where we started looking, because I looked at Indwell and what they do with supports and that. And I've been to almost all their openings here in Hamilton, which is just a great place that they have. They've got it down to a science, so why create the wheel?
Mm.
And they were gracious enough because their congregation wanted truth and reconciliation. So this is why this is happening.
Oh,
And it's a good thing all around.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. So one thing that came out of that is you got to meet this guy in the summer.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And I had red on, see, a red dress.
Okay.
Yes.
Not every day you get to bump elbows with the prime minister. But that was
Yeah,
that was
we had a
epic.
little talk. Yeah, and we had a little talk upstairs too. And I said, the truth's got to come out before the reconciliation. And he said, yes. Yeah, said my 2 words to him.
Awesome.
He was very approachable anyways.
Well, good for you for seizing the opportunity when you had it.
Oh,
So are
no,
there?
yeah.
So obviously you're going to be very busy with these 2 projects finishing up in the spring. Are there
Yes.
plans beyond these 2? Ottawa
Yes, there
Street and
is.
Royal Oak.
There is. There's another project that a young gentleman, he came into some funds and he purchased the 16 Stephen Street, the old Pearl Company down there. And he wanted to do co-ops, right? And then he just thinking around. And then he said maybe he asked, the consultant he got was Tim Welsh.
Yeah.
So he said, do you think there's an Indigenous organization in Hamilton that would want to partner with us or take over or, So we've been talking for about 3 years, hasn't it, Miranda?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 years. So the Hamilton, it's called CHILL, Coalition of Hamilton's Indigenous Leadership. And they are all for this Stephen Street. So they've allowed it and they've given Sacajawea to purchase $1 million, right? Because he bought it for 1.7.
Yeah.
Very young man, very gracious. And because we got to put it in our name by the middle of February. So we can apply for seed money for CMHC. And then we can look at co-investment. But if we get further down the road and rapid housing comes and we got the zoning all in place, this is where we would do, because I kept asking Bruce, do you think it'd be ready? And the last time, no. But for the rapid housing, It was this, the second call was for mostly the ones that didn't receive any funding. So the third call, we don't know if that's coming out, but we're trying to get ready because they'll pay for the building and everything else, right? So that's got 17 units there. There's a house on the end of it. That was part of the deal. And they got to tear that down because it was such a mess. And they're going to make 2 1-bedrooms there. And the thing that's holding us up is the rezoning. And we're going to be, 400 meters from the corner of King and Stephen. So the light rail, right? So we're looking. So the young man is named Brandon that's doing this. And he's going to help and even hold on to a mortgage for us if we have to. But
Wow.
hopefully we don't. Hopefully we don't, and we can get the rapid housing. So we'll see what happens. Because that'd be great. Then that would be ours. That's 17 more onto the 47. So that's 54. And then with the other ones within Dwell, that'll be 121 units for Indigenous, which is great. It's only a drop in the hat, but it's still good. We're so excited about that. And so is the community. They're backing us too.
Well, 107 units, and 5 years ago you had 28.
I know.
Wow.
And then we had our strat plan, right? On the weekend, because we couldn't. I was just mentioning it before the interviewers got on. And when they looked at that too, they said, holy, but that's good. That's good. Because they said they wanted to see additional. So we had that all checked off. We had, they wanted 15% or whatever, more housing and stuff and we accomplished that. So that's good. That's why they're keeping me around for a little bit longer, just to make the ends meet, and then get Miranda into the different meetings too, which I've started, so she gets her feet wet and knows what I do when I'm not there.
Yeah.
So you're also, Sacajawea is also part of the collaboration that came together called Hamilton is Home, that was proposing
Correct.
3,000 units in 3 years. What has happened with that proposal?
That proposal happened just before, was in February, Philomena and Adam Vaughn up in Mohawk, and we talked about that. They had shirts, Hamilton is Home. They talked about it and that, and then COVID comes because we were on our way, Graham, Jeff, Medora, Upo, and myself to Ottawa to talk to the housing manager. But then COVID came and we couldn't go anywhere, do anything. So right now, we still got that. We got a donation from Hamilton Community Foundation, which helped us again. And they're willing to help more because they know of the development costs. To get a place up and running, and you got to do all the soil testing and that, and get it ready to get to have the soil already. Costs about $200,000 per site because we had to do 3 archaeological digs. Because they found one thing, then they had to do, and that's like $30,000, $40,000 each time. So that was quite a bit. So we just want to make sure if we got the properties, right? Because they got 8 schools too, right? They came on, and also Delta, so, but I think that's closing December 9th, I think. I'm not quite sure. I thought it was the 9th that they were closing that deal. Because Graham went there and he said there was a lot of developers and everything like that too, right? Because we were looking at maybe we could, do that and divide it up amongst all Hamilton is Home because it's over 6 acres, and they got to keep the heritage part is the auditorium, 2 auditoriums. So we talked, Graham talked with HRC because they got youth programs. So it's all just talk right now. Nothing's been settled, but Hamilton is Home. Sacajawea looks after the funds. They're saying such a small organization. So, and then we get, the admin money and stuff like that to help. But each one of us had to put in 10,000, so the seven of us, and then with the other money that we got, 100,000 that we got from Hamilton Community Foundation. It's a lot of blocks to put together. We just want to have a dominoes effect, so.
Yeah, just to clarify, what the Hamilton is Home is a collaboration with Indwell, Sacajawea, Kiwanis Homes, I think, Victoria Park Homes, City Housing, and I'm
YWCA.
YW, yeah.
Yeah.
And
also Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then also we got, that's Sharon. Yes, go ahead.
Right. So you were talking a little bit through this conversation about the challenges you faced, and particularly when you were doing 18 West Avenue South. Are there things that the city could do that would make it easier to develop affordable housing?
Yes, they got to talk to each other. And they also don't have enough people in that department, and they can't hire lower ones because then the top ones got to come down and train them. So because Al Fletcher comes to our meetings too, and he's in housing, right? He took over for Kirsten.
Okay.
Yeah, Maxwell. Yeah.
Sorry, they lack staff and therefore things get slowed down, or what?
In planning that doesn't get done, or one don't talk to the other. I know with 18 West, we were constantly there talking. We went to the counselors too, Jason Farr, because that was his part of the city, many times, and then talked with the planners too. It was just like, oh my Lord, I can't understand it because I don't know how they run the thing either, right? But it was, and it's the city staff too, that they need more staff, and they're trying to get more. And it's been hard, even with our program manager that we want to hire for Hamilton is Home. I'm not in on that. There's 4 of them. I think it's Good Shepherd, YW Housing is interviewing the applicants to get that. So once we have that person in, they can help do with all the other stuff. Because we got this, like at the end of our table, we got all the rest of the stuff that we're doing for the, our own clients too. But we want to have more. So this is what, and who brought that about is, I don't know where, Nan started talking to us way, I think 2018 at City Hall. We started meeting gradually, and then it got bigger. Then we met with Adam Bond, and then we met with, so it is a city that's growing, but we just got to get a project manager. It just seems like nobody really wants to work sometimes. Look at Paula.
Sorry, and the project manager you need is at the city level or on your side working for the coalition?
It'll be something for ours.
Okay.
Yes, for the coalition for 1 year, and we'll see. So that's where we're looking at other funds too.
So I'm curious, what your tenants, what kind of rent levels do your tenants pay? Are they all at rent your income at like 30% of their income, or are there various rent levels?
25 for this the 17 that are, or 18 that are out. ODSP, it's affordable and it's ODSP, but we also got iShip, which is from the Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services, which helps fund our case manager. Plus they have supports that they do there too. So yeah, there is a lot of challenges, but we're persevere. We're going to get this done. That's what I said. This has got to, I have to have this done before I go. So that's my thing.
Can you tell me?
Not go, just what?
Can you tell me a little bit about your, and without obviously naming names, but tell me a little bit about your tenants and what, how your tenants have done because they get housed, the difference.
They've done well. Yeah, they've done well because they get subsidy too for the 8, get subsidy. Then we got 7 of them there for RGI for the houses that we sold. The city was good to give us 7. It was supposed to have been 5, but they did 7. And the other ones are ODSP, right? Miranda, and some
ODSP
are
shelter rate,
right. Like I think it's 981 the max for 2. Yeah. So it will be difficult with the RGI, right? You know, for the other ones, because they only pay 25%, not the 30. Yeah. So our operating agreements, I think it's 2023. The next phase comes up in 2024 for the third one. So we're talking with the city, and also we're having so many meetings with CMHC regarding it's an organization that's going to be run by Indigenous and funded through the Indigenous part. And I think Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services got that, Force Task Force. So there's so many different things that they're trying to do, CMHC. So many meetings, trying to see how to streamline things. Because for 18 West, we did put in for that, but we put our drawings in 2016. And the national housing didn't come to 2017. So that was it. And then they wouldn't give us, weren't granted co-investment because they mentioned we are viable. I said, we had to borrow from our R&R to make this work, you know, and that's replacement reserve. When we finish with our allocations, just say they don't give us any more funding, right, to run the other housing, then we have to do our R&R, you know, so they've taken some out of that, and we've told them that, and I've told, but we weren't, no, and I did mention that at the ANFA meeting we had that year too, because I told Priscilla, I said, I will mention we were viable. So we got talking at that meeting too, and she said, that's okay, because I'm going to be there and my boss. I said, that sounds good. So when they got around, because they do a round circle, and it got to me, and I did say that, I says, heaven forbid, if your projects are viable, you will not get funding. So, and I know it's so many. Yeah, but our tenants are doing well. You know, when it was the don't pay, right? Remember the landlords couldn't get anything. I guess some of them just booked on that. But we had other funds come through, the COVID funds, right, Miranda? Is that it? To pay for the maintenance, pay for their maintenance if they had any incurred on their ledgers and rents, you know. So we were able to help them that way too. And then also what's helped Sacajawea over the last coming into 4 years, like, you know, the 10-year strategy from the poverty funds from the city. So our office has been using that money, not taking any out of our budget, because that could go back into our replacement reserve if there needs any surplus. But we're using that to get our homes done, because we've got 2 basements that we did where they were almost $80,000 each.
Yeah.
So we could not do that on our own budget. Even for replacement reserve, we had $1,500 for each property for the year. That didn't even cover a furnace, you know. So this funds that's come in, we are utilizing everything so we can fix our place up. So if the funding does stop for those phases, they're in good shape. That's
so
another strategy.
I remind you that if you've got questions, please post them in the chat. And here's one. First, they say, thank you for all the complicated work you do. And
thank you.
You mentioned there is a process to choose applicants. How many applicants do you have?
Lisa? I mean, Miranda, how many did she mention?
So at this time, I think, and again, we get applications, but with Sacajawea, you have to check in on your application at least every 90 days. So some of the applicants, it'll lapse, that time will lapse. So I would say we have just over, I would say 60 applicants at this time. But a lot of those applicants now, because we have these other open units with Indwell, they're hopefully going to be transitioned over. But again, because all of the units are bachelors, we call the applicants, and some of the applicants don't want a bachelor, they want something else. So yeah.
It's hard that way, because even Lisa mentioned you can get your foot in there, show that you're good, get it, and there might be vacancies, and then you could move, you know. So The right ones will come about.
But all of your units at Ottawa Street and in Royal Oak will be bachelor units?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Remember I said the first one on Ottawa Street will be for this first stage. And then the second stage is the next building they're going to build up on to do.
Yep.
And then same with phase 3 at the Royal Oak.
Yeah.
We got 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms there for families. So that's the next proposal going in.
So Sacajawea is and always has been an entirely Indigenous organization. It's Indigenous board, Indigenous staff, Indigenous clients. How does that make the experience for your tenants different than it might be with a non-Indigenous organization?
What I hear, they all want to come to Sacajawea.
Yeah.
But
So
why?
I think
Yes,
There-
they keep saying that we want to go with Sacajawea.
so with
'cause
Sacajawea,
yeah. Go ahead, honey.
So with Sacajawea, we do offer, because we have our case manager now, we do offer a lot of programming and the cultural teachings, medicines. She does dream catchers, things like that. So there is that cultural aspect of it. And then also, I feel that Sacajawea, when we have an issue with our homes, we try to make it, repair it and make it an adequate place for a tenant to live. Like I know a lot of the agencies, and I understand that when you have so many units, the funding, the manpower, it is a lot to take care of. But with Sacajawea, again, our number one priority is our tenants and making sure they have a comfortable and safe place to live at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Everything starts with a good home, a roof over your
Mhm.
head,
Yeah.
like a wraparound service for them.
And what's your operation is going to be? I mean, as you mentioned, you went from 28 units to 107. It's a lot more clients to manage and a lot more needs to meet.
Yeah. So that'll start with the more of staffing. So hopefully with the next year, we would like to have added on at least 3 more staff. And then in 2 years from now, we'll add another 2 more. So we'll go from a staff of 3 to hopefully a staff of 8 or 9.
Because we'd like to have our own maintenance,
Mhm.
I know Indwell has their own maintenance department, right? But they have the funds for that too. So that's where we got to do a lot of proposals,
Yeah.
see where the money is out there, trying to tap in. Because we do need more for the case manager, because we see
Yes.
how pertinent that is and how it's made a difference in our tenants' lives too,
So, and I think that's the thing too, is with Sacajawea, yes, we have 3 positions. We all have job descriptions for these positions. However, we go out of our job description. So if a call comes in and I answer the phone and it's a maintenance call, I handle the maintenance work because that is that tenant's need right at that moment. So we go moment by moment for the tenant.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If Lisa gets a call from a funder and she knows the answer to it, she'll give them the answer. She won't say, hold on, or I'll take a message and Miranda will get back to you. No, she'll take that call and give them that answer if she has that answer.
So in Hamilton, homelessness has never been so visible as it is right now. It's just so obvious that we're in a crisis of homelessness, evictions, and unaffordable housing. How does that play out for you? What are you seeing for Indigenous people in Hamilton? Presumably, all of this is worse for Indigenous people.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there with it. I think it was 20%. I think it's more now. I think it's about 29% or even higher than that. Because we just had a point in time count that was on the 17th of November. So I don't know the numbers yet because it's got to go to national, right? First. So we'll know the percentage about that too. They did that at Beasley Park this year. Each of the organizations had staff there for, frontline staff there. to help with the people that were there and giving out information. And then there was another van there with the breast thing, and it was good. And then also with the needles, they had with the shots, they had one stuff there too, that they could get their shots. It's really, and to see the ones that we seen on Victoria, that was just terrible. You know, when I was driving down that way and I had to do a detour, right? That's so sad because you don't see them. So where are they? But I seen something that they were going to look at a couple of golf places that they were going to do a shelter, but I got to look into that a little more. It just came on. I just glanced at it earlier. They said something to help with the homelessness.
What do you need from the governments, from the federal government, from the provincial government, from the local government, so you can meet or go further to meet the needs? I presume it's money.
From the provincial, they got to jump on board. Oh, yes, it's got to be, yes, because the provincial ain't jumping up. We're looking at, because when we talk, Hamilton is home all the time, right? Because we have another meeting. We have a meeting every other Wednesday, and that's tomorrow. Yes, and CMHC, well, they've changed their things, their way of doing stuff, because they really it was not well put out when they first did the National Housing Strategy. You know, it was just so many different things. But now they got a department that just deals with urban and rural Indigenous people. So that's Priscilla. She takes that portfolio on. But it's funds. And CMHC, you look at that, they're looking at affordable, but then you look at the municipalities. Remember I told you there's so many bureaucracies and you got to jump through so many hoops, you know? Mm-hmm. And they all say, even at the city, affordable housing, we need it. But yeah, how do we, that's why Hamilton and Home is Home was decided to be a committee because of all the things that we're all going through. So if we talk with one voice, it might be a little louder and it might be move their hand a little quicker. So that was the thing behind that.
Okay, we have, as we started, we said for 5 years, where the congregation's been delighted to be fundraising for you. And
we appreciate it.
And we were wondering, are there other ways in which we could support your efforts?
Are you consultant? Are you?
Didn't hear that.
I said, are you a consultant? How can we help you? I don't know, your voices, you know, on different levels of the government, that would help immensely.
Allies, yeah.
Yes, that would be great.
We'll work on that. And
okay.
We are also delighted that at this Christmas, again, we're going to be doing the Christmas Eve offering. We'll be going to Sacajawea. And Miranda, you indicated you were hoping you could use the funds in the new year. And
yes,
absolutely. But if you have thought what the need might be that we could help meet?
So for the new year, as we discussed that, we will have those new units from Indwell. And again, a lot of from the application process that I have seen now, a lot of them are coming right from the streets. So they have nothing. So we would love to be able to offer them a warm bed, warm blankets, even some pots, some pans, cutlery, dishes, things like that, towels, you know, linens, all those things to make your home a home.
Necessary. Yeah.
Necessities.
Yes.
We would be delighted to see our offering going to that use.
Oh,
we have pretty much used up an hour, and but I'm seeing some notes in the chat that we're very grateful to the time you've taken. Somebody's noting that we're grateful you're no longer afraid of us, Melanie. We're pretty.
Yeah, can you tell?
We're not too scary.
No, you're not. We're very nice people, very approachable.
It's been delightful every time we've been able to have you.
It's
been great every
Yes.
time we've been able to have you at one of our events, and even had your singers at least once at our
Yes.
fall festival.
Part of the
So,
board, yes, that was nice.
I much appreciate the time you've taken tonight, and thank you to both of you. We will keep, the plan is to keep supporting you. So
Thank you.
your
Thank
work
you,
is just
yes.
so valuable and so essential.
much.
And thank you, everybody
Thank
who
you
has
so
attended.
Yes.
And we'll wrap it up there. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Bye,
Have a
Paula.
good evening.
Yes. Thank you all.
Bye, Melanie. Bye, Miranda. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.